Hello and welcome to your 7th tutorial of astronomy, and in this tutorial we are going to look at Venus. And Venus, as you can see in the picture, is more or less the same size as Earth. It is slightly smaller, but it is definitely a kind of twin planet to Earth in regards to its size. But when you also look at it, it looks very, very different than Earth. And I'm going to tell you why. There's certain things in regards to Venus that are extremely different than on Earth. So we have the atmosphere here on Venus, and it is almost only carbon dioxide. So that means there's no oxygen there. So if you would be there, you would not get any oxygen, obviously. But it also has another factor, and that is when all the sun's beams comes into the atmosphere and reflect and go out again, then it will just hit this CO2 and it will bounce back again. It means it's actually like the greenhouse effect. So all the heat just cannot escape the atmosphere. And this is also what we're talking about on Earth, that we need to reduce our CO2 and so on, because the Earth will just be warmed up and the ice will melt and so on if we get too much CO2 in our atmosphere. And Venus is a splendid example of that, because it's something like 96% CO2 in its atmosphere, and ours is considerably less. The Earth has less than 1% CO2. So that means less than. So there's another factor on Venus that doesn't make it the most friendly place you can imagine, and that is that due to all this heat, it is around 460 degrees Celsius, where Earth is more like, yeah, you know what the temperature is on Earth. And then there is also the fact that inside this atmosphere there is a lot of pressure. On Earth we have the calculation that in average it is 1 atmosphere pressure. And when you dive into the ocean, then when you dive down 10 meters, it becomes 2 atmosphere pressure. And 20 meters, it becomes 3 atmospheres pressure. And if you try to free dive, then you know that you can feel it, the pressure in the ears particularly, and so on. And if you go up and down too fast, then you feel very weird and can become sick, and so on. So on the surface of Venus we have 90 atmospheres. And that means you could not free dive on Venus. You would just die. But with it would actually be interesting with the proper diving equipment to go below Venus's atmosphere and be on the surface. You could be able to do that if you had a little vessel that could withstand all this pressure. And when the satellites go down in the atmosphere, then they transmit various informations back to Earth, and then at some point they die out. But one thing that they have noticed is also that they have mapped Venus, like there's mountains and valleys and all kind of things below the atmosphere, and we have a whole picture of Venus, how it is below the atmosphere. Not like a normal picture, but like X-ray picture and measurements and so on. So there's a whole terrain down there, which could be very interesting to be around. So, if you want to travel someplace, then pick the moon or Mars, because Venus would maybe not be the first place where we make bases on and so forth. Mars and the moon is first of all much more hospital, and Well, yeah, that's it for Venus. Venus is the brightest star on the night sky. And, well, when I say star, I just mean a dot that is glowing. So in the night, you can see one dot that is glowing much more than the other ones. Well, that's Venus, unless it's a street lamp. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and see you in the next tutorial.